The void rippled, not with dissolution, but with a terrifying, nascent creation. The spectral crimson eye, tinged with the very essence of the void it now defied, pulsed with a fierce, untamed energy. From its ethereal depths, a single tear, a droplet of pure, defiant will, fell. It struck the skeletal hand of the primordial horror. The ancient bone shimmered, transforming into a material of impossible strength, a conduit of raw, untamed power. The skeletal hand, once a symbol of death and decay, now flexed, weaving intricate warding patterns against the encroaching darkness. An invisible barrier, humming with primal force, sprang into existence, pushing back the formless shadow entity. The void recoiled, its hunger momentarily sated by this unexpected resistance. A new battlefield had been forged, not of flesh and blood, but of will and existence itself. Freya's will, reborn in a terrifying, spectral form, had declared war on Oblivion. The ancient shadow roared, a sound that tore at the fabric of reality, but the warding patterns held, a desperate bulwark against the inevitable nullification. The spectral crimson eye widened, its pulsing intensity a beacon in the suffocating darkness. It saw not just the shadow, but the remnants of the nascent worlds it had sworn to protect. A flicker of something akin to sorrow, a ghost of Freya's former self, crossed its form. The skeletal hand, now a pillar of shimmering power, extended, offering protection, a silent vow of continued defiance. But the ancient shadow was not easily deterred. It gathered its strength, a denser, more terrifying wave of oblivion began to form, coalescing around the edges of the newly formed barrier. The warding patterns flickered, strained under the immense pressure. The spectral crimson eye flared, pouring more of its defiant energy into the shield. It was a desperate gamble, a fight against impossible odds. The very essence of creation was being tested, its right to exist challenged by the ultimate emptiness. Suddenly, a new tremor shook the void. Not a tremor of destruction, but of a different kind of power awakening. Deep within the skeletal hand, a single obsidian shard, a tiny fragment of Freya's original sacrifice, began to glow. It pulsed with a cold, sharp light, a counterpoint to the spectral crimson. The ancient shadow paused, sensing this new, alien presence. It was a familiar energy, yet twisted, amplified by the very darkness it sought to consume. The obsidian shard pulsed faster, its light intensifying, projecting not a beam of defiance, but a chilling whisper that echoed through the void. It spoke of memory, of pain, of a primal hunger that predated even the ancient shadow. The spectral crimson eye turned towards the obsidian shard, a flicker of recognition, perhaps even dread, in its pulsing depths. The skeletal hand tightened its grip on the shard, as if protecting it, or perhaps, being controlled by it. The ancient shadow surged forward again, its attention now divided between the spectral entity and the glowing obsidian fragment. It was a desperate, chaotic dance of creation and destruction. The spectral eye unleashed a torrent of crimson energy, a desperate plea for survival. The obsidian shard responded with a blast of pure, unyielding darkness, a force that seemed to absorb light itself. The two energies collided, creating a cataclysmic ripple that warped the very concept of existence. The warding patterns on the skeletal hand shattered, the invisible barrier crumbling. The ancient shadow, momentarily overwhelmed by the conflicting forces, began to dissipate, but not in defeat. It was reforming, stronger, more focused. It had tasted the true nature of this new defiance, and it was not pleased. The spectral crimson eye began to dim, its energy draining rapidly. The obsidian shard continued to pulse, its chilling whisper growing louder. The skeletal hand, now devoid of its shimmering power, began to crumble, turning back into brittle bone. The void seemed to press in, the darkness absolute once more. But then, a faint, almost imperceptible hum returned. From the remnants of the shattered barrier, from the dissipating shadow, a new form began to coalesce. It was neither crimson nor obsidian, but something entirely new, a terrifying synthesis of will, horror, and the void itself. The ancient shadow, so close to victory, found itself facing an enemy it couldn't comprehend, an enemy that was a reflection of its own deepest fears. The spectral crimson eye opened one last time, revealing not defiance, but a chilling, nascent hunger. The obsidian shard fell silent. The skeletal hand was gone. Only this new, amorphous entity remained, pulsating in the heart of the void, a dark promise of what was to come.
What has Freya truly become? And can this new, terrifying manifestation of her will truly save anything, or will it consume everything in its path?